Hey, it's Rachel Cooke, your modern mentor. And today we're going to talk about executive presence. It's a phrase I often hear leaders throwing around as they consider whom to promote into leadership roles. But for many, the concept is elusive. What is it? And how do you demonstrate it? Well, I've got answers. Years ago, a friend told me she was up for a promotion into a pretty senior role at work. She'd been told she was ready from a skills perspective. She just needed to boost her executive presence, or her ability to present herself in a way that inspires trust, credibility, and poise as someone in charge. So her company hired a coach specializing in executive presence to support her on the journey. When I asked my friend a few months later how it was going, she said, "It's great. My coach has taken me shopping 3 times. I look like a new woman, and that promotion has finally been announced." If you're horrified by this anecdote in 2022, I hear you. It actually happened in 2013, and I was horrified then. To be fair, in that time, executive presence wasn't only about appearance, but in certain companies, looking the part was non-negotiable. And when I launched my consulting business in 2015, I was not willing to coach for executive presence. I was appalled by the bias and lack of inclusivity inherent in its framing. But now we're in 2022. The world is upside down and all the rules have changed. I do believe the ability to inspire confidence remains as critical as ever today. But I also believe the drivers of executive presence have shifted. I even coach for it today, based on a framework I believe is relevant and fair. In 2020, Frances Frye and Anne Morris published the concept of the trust triangle in the Harvard Business Review. And I believe trust lies at the foundation of executive presence. So if you're looking to dial up the confidence that others have in your leadership ability, whether you're hoping for a promotion, a speaking gig, a university professorship, then let's talk about how leaning on authenticity, empathy, and logic, the 3 components of the trust triangle, can get you there faster. Let's start with authenticity. Trust begins with showing people the real you. This doesn't mean you have to overshare or give up your privacy. It simply means a single version of you shows up in every situation and is aligned with your values and beliefs. Frye and Morris do acknowledge that there are legitimate reasons why someone may feel compelled to hold parts of themselves back. There may be times, they say, when expressing your authentic feelings may risk harmful consequences. Women, for example, are disproportionately penalized for displaying negative emotions in the workplace, and Black men are burdened by the false stereotypes that they are predisposed to anger. But again, authenticity doesn't mean expressing every emotion you feel to the fullest extent. It means being willing to state your honest opinions, to hold the line on your values, even express yourself physically in ways that feel most true to who you are. For me, the power of authenticity is less about you and more about the environment you create for those around you. When people see you expressing yourself verbally and physically, it opens the door to a true diversity of opinions, ideas, and approaches. It unlocks imagination, it makes debate and disagreement safe, and it even allows the quote-unquote dumb questions to be asked. When you're able to lead authentically, you build trust, you trigger inclusion, and you unlock innovation. What organization wouldn't want to promote that? So how do you be more authentic? Here are a few ideas to get you started. Look in the mirror each morning and ask yourself whether you recognize the person staring back as truly you. If not, invite her in. State your values and hold yourself accountable for upholding them every day. And practice asking dumb questions in the presence of others. Recognize that oftentimes others had the same dumb question, and your asking ends up moving the project or team forward. Next, let's talk about empathy. Empathy is essentially the degree to which you can appreciate and tend to the experiences of others. And demonstrating empathy is grounded in listening, fully and actively. Listening matters now more than ever because we're continuing to head into uncharted territory. Even the most experienced leader doesn't know what's coming next. So the best leaders in 2022 are the ones capturing and honoring a range of perspectives. To dial up your empathy, here are a few suggestions. Turn off distractions, like put your phone away during conversations with others. It's hard to demonstrate empathy when you're distracted. Focus on what others need to get out of a meeting rather than focusing on your objectives. When you ensure everyone else's needs are met, you are definitely in the empathy zone. And finally, just check in with people without an agenda. Making a practice of being present, of truly wanting to know how others are doing, it builds your empathy muscle, which in turn makes you all kinds of trustworthy. And finally, logic, the third point on the trust triangle. In essence, this is the degree to which others perceive your ideas, your statements, as sound. It's a reflection of the rigor of your analysis, the thoroughness and thoughtfulness of your plans and timelines. People trust leaders whose ideas hold up. Have you ever listened to a really emotionally compelling speaker who spun an inspiring tale, and then later you realize that while it all sounded great, there was no substance behind it? I call these bumper sticker ideas. Live each day as if it were your last is inspiring until you really think through the consequences. I mean, someone's got to pay the mortgage, right? I coach leaders to stay away from bumper sticker ideas when they're striving to dial up their logic. Here are some practical tips you can use. Before you communicate a plan or an important idea, road test it with someone you trust. Are there holes, contradictions? Address any gaps before you go live. Where there's data, check it twice. Even just one numeric misstep can erode trust quickly. And finally, acknowledge uncertainty. Logic doesn't require that everything be known. You can present a solid plan that still carries uncertainty. Just be sure you acknowledge the uncertainty with a promise to resolve it, rather than fumbling your way through an evasive answer. As you think about a leader you really trust, one you consider to be a role model or a mentor, can you spot these 3 points on the trust triangle and how they show up? I hope you'll join me next week for another great episode. Until then, you can follow Modern Mentor on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out my website at leadabovenoise.com or follow me on the Modern Mentor page on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for listening and have a successful week. Modern Mentor is a quick and dirty tips podcast. It's audio engineered by Dan Firabend with script editing by Adam Cecil. Our podcast and advertising operations specialist is Morgan Christensen. Our assistant manager is Emily Miller, and our marketing and publicity assistant is Davina Tomlin.